This is the Loiners View podcast.
This is the Loiners View podcast.
This is the Loiners View podcast.
Hello and welcome to this week's Loiners View. I'm Lawrie, and with me this week we have Mr. Christopher Patrick.
Evening, lads. You all right?
That's about mate. And we have up in the Cumbrian lands of absolute heaven, Mr. Jordan Walker.
Hey, lads. You all right?
Not so bad, mate. Right, gentlemen, it's been a busy week in the Rugby League world, and I think there's one talking point which has really dominated everything, and that is a certain rugby club that is based in Toronto. So, gentlemen, I think we've all got different opinions, different views. What do we think? How do we deal with the problem that is Toronto? Because we've just found out in the last hour or so that all results in the Super League that they've had this year have been annulled, completely wiped out. So clubs don't have any points that we get. Scoring points, I should say. So, what on earth do we do with this situation? What would you do with Toronto now?
Such a difficult one. I mean, obviously, in the normal circumstances, if a club doesn't finish the season, then gone, get rid of them out of Super League. But we have to bear in mind it's a totally unprecedented worldwide situation that we're in. It's really, really tough because they can't be allowed to get away with not finishing the season. But would I kick them out? I don't exactly know. Maybe they start next season with a bit of a deduction for not finishing this one. I think that's maybe potentially a good option.
Yeah, I think I get you. Do you know what? I get your point. I think for me, it's just such a weird one, isn't it? Because, think about it. They've had some alleged dodgy incidents in the last couple of years anyway. But given COVID, it's almost kind of just pushed everything so fast forward and into absolute chaos that I don't think anybody could have survived. Chris, what do you think? How do you see where will they be next year, do you think?
Well, hopefully they'll have a team. We found the news out Monday afternoon, didn't we? And I mean, my overall feeling is just right now, just a bit of disappointment. It just feels like, I mean, with the exception of Catalans, we get a franchise, but an expansion team in Super League, and again, there's always got to be something that's going wrong with it. I don't know. I sort of agree with Jordan. What do you do? Can you punish them for next year? I think for me, the biggest worry right now when it comes to Toronto, you've got to look at Callum Watkins and his family. He's travelled from Australia back home. They've uprooted. They're making plans to either stay in the UK or live over in Canada. That's completely messed things up for him. And it's the fact that there's all this talk about one of agents touting around current Toronto players, around Super League clubs. There's these rumoured signings from Leeds possibly going to Toronto that have been touted around Super League clubs as well. So I just don't know. Are they either going to have a team next season? I've always been a fan of the North American team coming in. I'm a fan of expansion. I see the bigger picture with them and how much money potentially they can bring into the game. So I hope they do well. But my worry would be are they really going to be an attractive proposition to play for next season? You're always going to have that worry of, so they're going to have to tout players off to other teams. But what's it going to be like for a player who's going to be approached for Toronto next season? You're going to always have those reservations, thinking, well, hang on a minute. There's issues going on right now. Do I really want to take that gamble and play for Toronto in Super League in 2021?
They've probably already sort of got gentlemen's agreements in place with a number of players for next season as well. So obviously, the rumours that you hear potentially, some of the Leeds lads going there. Obviously, just rumours. There's probably no smoke without fire. Some of those lads might have, sort of got agreements in place with Toronto, and you do wonder what's going to happen for those lads, don't you? You do fear for them.
It's a horrible situation, isn't it? Especially as, let's be honest, Toronto are actually, if you think about how they were doing in their own town, they were actually doing all right. They seem to be getting a really good fan base in a city which is a big sporting city. Let's not, beat down any rules here. They've done well and they were getting quite good crowds. Could sounds daft. Would it be a waste to just not scrap the franchise or scrap the idea? But you kind of say that they're part of the culture now, aren't they? They are not a.
Yeah.
It's not a ticking time bomb of we can't do it anymore. So it almost makes you think that they'll be there next year, don't you? I mean, I can't see them not being in 2021 somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's why part of me feels like they're not just going to completely scrap him. I think there's going to be some sort of sanctions, whether it's a fine, points deductions, I don't know. But for me, it just seems like it's going to be a big shame how, like you say, with the crowds, I think on average they're getting something like 9,000 a game. You know, you're talking about a club, you know, a country where they've not really heard about rugby league a few years ago. So for them to go from pretty much nothing to having 9,000, they are, you know, there's obviously a market there. There's a demand for it. So for us just to go, well, do you know what? We'll wash his hands of you. I don't know. It does seem a bit extreme. I mean, I think it just feels like since they've joined Super League that there has been a few questionable things that they've done. I mean, you've got to look at the size of the squad as well. I mean, it's great having Sonny Bill Williams, you know, massive signing, but you've then got to look at the amount of money he's on, struggling for players. You then think, well, you know, how many other players could they actually bring with the money for Sonny Bill Williams? It's little things like that. I feel part of this situation's due to, you know, financial mismanagement and just not really planning ahead. But obviously, like Jordan said, it's this COVID situation. I was hearing earlier on, there's like a big visa issue, and I understand are they on like a tourist visa where I think that they can't be out of the country for so long? So obviously,
from what I gather, it's like a working visa, but it's got like conditions. You've got to be in a certain country. You can be in a certain country for so many days, and then you've kind of got to leave. But even then,
I believe that their visas would have been valid for the block that they will be playing games out in Canada. But they started while there were no games, I believe. So those visas will run out by October. It's not physically impossible to extend them. That's my understanding of it.
Mm.
I mean, I'll be honest, I do feel very sorry for them actually, because I think with COVID as well, I mean, if you think about it, what it's done to other clubs as well, it's going to, I know we've talked about this so many times, but it is going to cause a lot of casualties. And I don't know, I just feel Toronto's kind of going to be the big one that gets a big boot, if that makes any sense.
Let's not forget as well that obviously, like, it is a totally unprecedented situation. It's not the norm. We've never seen it before in peacetime, as I keep saying on the news. You know, like, and they don't have the luxury of like furlough and stuff and players as well. No. Can you imagine the state some of the clubs would be over if they didn't have that luxury? Now, I'm not saying they should get away without a penalty, because they totally should have one. You can't get into the situation where you can't finish a season. But to kick them out of the league for, you know, this has happened in a really sort of unusual time might be a bit harsh. I think that it's sort of really, you know, wound me up since the news came out is that people's almost took joy in the situation. You know, sort of anti-expansion people, like, oh, well, I knew this would happen. Why did you let them in? Kick them out. Well, just, you know, step back and take a look at things, like, sort of logically, really. It's totally unprecedented. I'd like to think it wouldn't happen again with them, if you know what I mean. But to kick them out of the league and waste all the good work, for me, isn't probably the way to go about. Maybe them starting on -10 next year might be the option. But then, how attractive is it to the people over there in Canada going to watch a team that were pretty much nailed on to be relegated? So there's a whole host of things that you have to bear in mind, really.
The thing is as well, Jordan, I was thinking about this earlier on, you've got to look at, we're treating Toronto completely different compared to Catalans as well. So if you remember when Catalans first came into Super League, they had something like 3 years grace from relegation. So you think, well, does it maybe seem a little bit harsh on Toronto just to sort of have them in Super League and, you know, find the feet and be like, well, okay, well, if you're not successful this year, then you're straight back into the Championship?
The issue with that was, obviously, Catalans were parachuted into Super League, wasn't there? Whereas Toronto had to build the way up, sort of thing. But I do think, though, it's a real tough one, because no matter how you penalise them, it's something that, yes, 50% of it is their fault, but also 50% wasn't there. So it kind of makes you think what sort of penalty would be suitable. And you can kind of imagine that a lot of Super League clubs, their owners might go a little bit harsh, mightn't you? I know I've seen a few comments from some saying, "Oh, they're going to have to be punished, or they're going to have this," and you're thinking, yeah, but are we punishing just for the sake of punishment, or not looking at the bigger picture? It's going to be an awkward one, isn't it?
My fear is that obviously this news about them not paying players on time, allegedly, that's the tip of the iceberg, and they won't be the last club this season. I think once everyone comes back off furlough and the matches start, I think you'll find that there'll be a couple of clubs won't end up playing their players on time, and then it's quite worrying, really.
Yeah, I think that's an issue, isn't it? Because obviously the stadium income's not going to be coming in, apart from cardboard cutouts and some Sky money. But yeah, you're right. I mean, these next 3 months could actually, well, not more than 4 or 5 months could actually be pretty terrible, to be fair. Moving on to another point as this past week is obviously the Championship and League One being pretty much scrapped totally and replaced by, potential cup tournament, regional cup tournament. Gentlemen, is this, I know we've talked about this before, but is this a good thing then? Do you think that clubs will bother entering this cup tournament, or will they just go, we'll wait till next year?
Be interesting to see. The issue you've got is that certain contracts will run out during the time period when they're on about sort of playing that tournament. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. But 250k prize money's not half bad mind, is it?
Yeah, have they actually agreed to that? Because what they're trying to get out from like Super League clubs.
That's what I keep reading, but whether or not they agree to pay for that, I don't know. But it'd be an interesting cup competition, really, depending on obviously who enters.
Would they do it? I mean, how would they? I mean, for Cumbria, would it kind of be like Workington, Whitehaven, maybe throwing Barrow, and maybe I don't know who else you'd have to pick in that? Would you maybe get one of Yorkshire teams in there, or how would you do it?
It depends, obviously, what the logistics of the tournament as well, because I can't see any of the teams around here entering if it's a midweek tournament, because they'll struggle to get teams with lads working and things. But certainly, if the thing was right, I would imagine that they will enter. To be honest,
I can see. I mean, let's be honest, a couple of you'd think maybe some of the lower league clubs might go a little bit skew with as well, because I mean, obviously they're not going to get any money coming in. But Chris, do you think we could be in a situation where possibly, if you look, say we jump ahead this time next year, do you think there'll be many clubs both in Super League, Championship and League One that maybe don't exist, or do you reckon we'll still have all the exact same teams?
I'm hoping we keep everyone. It's hard to say. You could be looking at maybe losing a couple of clubs down in League One. This is the uncertain thing, isn't it? We just don't know. I mean, it's just it's hard to answer, to be honest, Loz. Who knows? I mean, we don't really know what Super League is going to be like next year, to be fair. Let alone Championship, League One. I can't give you an answer, I'm afraid. It's just that was my only bugbear with the whole Toronto thing, was when they went cap in hand and asked for money off all the other clubs. Now, part of their sort of agreement for joining the league really was that they were exempt from certain funding that other clubs can get. And now, as Chris said, when you're splashing massive money on Sonny Bill Williams, and you've sort of waived your right to any central funding, but then you've sort of went cap in hand saying, "Oh, please can you give us some money when all the other clubs are skint?" That's not cool. I'm not happy with that.
They also they're trying to get Sky money, if I remember, if I saw right. Which, I mean, obviously they're not broadcasting. Well, okay, they're on Sky over here, but it's not their main TV channel, is it? Especially for broadcasting on. So I thought that was a bit suspect. But I suppose you could argue that maybe as they are appearing on it, they should get some of it.
Are they still financially being backed by that David Argyle then?
That's a good point, actually. I mean, I don't know. I know Eric Perez sold them, didn't he, for a couple of years back to him, I think. But, I mean, he's quite rich. Well, I suppose to be quite a rich man. I don't know. But they must have a lot of costs and stuff, I suspect. But I don't know how much if they have that, their ground. Because, I mean, I think the ground that they play is actually owned by Toronto Council, I think, maybe, or Toronto local government. So it's not like, unless they pay for rent there, I don't think it's a lot of money that they don't have to pay for, their own facilities, I suppose. But, yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It makes you wonder quite how much their outgoings are, if it's mainly on wages for
Myself and Chris are meant to fly out to Toronto next Friday, actually, which is
Oh
very
gosh, yeah.
upsetting. I was really looking forward to going as well and getting
You
in
know-
that beer garden behind the sticks for the game. It looked amazing, but yeah, an all-round stressful experience, that cancellation, wasn't it, Chris?
Oh, do you know it's been horrific, and I know how stressed you've been because I've seen your social media posts on Twitter.
Oh, be interested to know what will happen first. Toronto paid their players on time. I was get a refund from Travel Republic. I had to name them.
Travel Republic, everybody. Yeah,
I've-
Travel Republic on Twitter.
Travel Republic basically don't go anywhere with them. But it's not just us. I've seen several Rhinos fans kicking off about them on social media today, actually. So, so they've cancelled mine and Chrissy's holiday. Some of our mates are still waiting to hear back. Ben and I were meant to fly on the 30th of July. We're getting a refund in October.
Not good, is it? It's not a good situation, but I
wouldn't say, Jordan. I think especially with this news with Toronto, it's certainly a reason for the trip not to be fit and proper now. Anyway, so.
Well, I'm going to say, yeah. Especially when there's nothing happening there.
It'd just be our luck, planning to go over to watch the Rhinos. Toronto don't play, and then we've got an expensive holiday.
Well, I'll look at a waterfall.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, isn't the baseball season starting tonight as well? So I suppose you could have watched Blue Jays play up there. I don't know if there's still the same schedule. But...
Bloody Rounders. Watching in back garden.
Hey, nothing wrong with the MLB, he says.
No, actually, I would have went because they were meant to be at home the weekend when we went. Me and Chris were going to go, I think.
It's not a bad sport. But anyway, moving on. So the other big news this past week is quite big news. Hopefully, it all goes according to plan. Next year's World Cup schedule. So we have a huge announcement of so many fixtures. I mean, I'm not complaining. It's brilliant. I mean, literally the amount of games in the men's tournament, women's tournament, and the wheelchair tournament. Well, what can we say? I think we're going to be treated next October, November time, aren't we, gents? Which games stand out for you?
So, if anything was worth taking a Tuesday off work to go to St Helens and stand in the freezing cold, it's Tonga and PNG, isn't it, in the group stage? Be a belter, won't it?
That's going to be an absolute belting game. That I know. I think all Tonga's games are in St Helens, aren't they, or at Liverpool? I think, or something around. I think it's around there. Yeah,
I think they are.
No, actually, one's at Middlesbrough.
Is that against Cook Islands?
Oh, Cook Islands.
So
Cook Islands.
Yeah. One of the weekends of action I'm really looking forward to actually is on Friday night at Edinburgh it's New Zealand and Ireland. Saturday at Sheffield United is England Greece, and Sunday up at Middlesbrough is Tonga Cook Islands. So I was going to spend a long weekend travelling around games. I think
I've seen a lot of people do that. I didn't get a name, but I know somebody on Twitter put on a schedule of they'd worked out all the ground distances and how they could do as many games as possible. And to be fair, it's quite good that they are actually quite in the north. I know we should have some more games down the south, but some of the stadiums, we could get some really big crowds in there, don't you think? I mean, there are a few which I've been we might not quite fill that stadium, but I think for the likes of the games up at Headingley, even the games at York. I mean, I know York are hosting some of the women's fixtures and stuff in that brand new stadium there. They're going to get good crowds, I think, everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. The opening ceremony and first game will be a massive success, I think. They've done it. It's perfect, isn't it? Newcastle on a Saturday afternoon, and the Geordies love their sport, so I'm sure they'll turn out to enjoy that. The one I'm excited about is obviously down at the Emirates for England's touchwood potential semi-final. I've always wanted to go there, so I'm quite looking forward to seeing what that stadium's all about as well.
Because obviously the other semi-finals at Ellen Road, didn't they? If I remember right, yeah. So
yeah,
stadiums.
I was just going to say, I agree with Jordan. I kind of had a look at the schedule earlier on, and the semi-final at the Emirates that jumps out to me as well, alongside obviously a little bit closer at Ellen Road. The opening game at Newcastle be a good day out. I was looking at the couple of the fixtures at Leeds as well. I really fancy. I don't know whether you agree with this. I wouldn't mind going to Jamaica Island, Jamaica Islands, but also New Zealand Islands as well.
I think they'd be good fixtures, to be fair. I
think they'll be good games.
I mean, the Jamaica Island one could actually be quite a good game, to be fair. I think we don't know.
Ireland were great for entertainment in the last World Cup, weren't they? Really, the likes of Amor and McAlorum and people like that playing for them. They They were really good to watch like last time.
As well on that opening weekend, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there a game at the Union Ground? Oh, sorry, well, Kingston Park. Isn't that on the Sunday as well? I think
Scotland and
somebody, is it? Italy.
I can't remember who it was, to be honest.
Yeah.
But so my plan is to go to that game, stay up Saturday night after the opening ceremony, and go to that on the Sunday. Whether I'm in a state to do it, I don't know, but I'll get a ticket and see what happens.
I think we could attempt that. I mean, let's be honest, St James's Park, we've got to try and fill that ground, haven't we? I mean, that ground could be absolutely amazing for that opening game. I mean, it shouldn't be too difficult. Let's be honest, we do tend to get good crowds up there for Magic Weekend. For an England game, if you publicise that up there, the locals will go bonkers as well.
They would, especially if they put some effort into the opening ceremony as well. You know, got some big Geordie bands, like stick Sam Fender on or stuff before the game. You know what I mean? Make it like a proper party atmosphere. They would love that.
I mean, you've got to look as well at how they did the 2013 World Cup, because the 2013 World Cup was genius. I mean, not necessarily in fact, the advertising for it was class, but the fact that some of the promotions and some of the ticket sales, I mean, you could do little deals for like the games where you thought, you know, they might not get a load. I know it sounds a bit cheap and tacky to do almost, but Bang will get on freeze on some games, and you're getting full crowds. I mean, literally, I think we went to Italy Tonga, didn't we? Was it Italy Tonga at Halifax, Chris?
We're in the same group because I seen Scotland play both teams at Workington.
Yeah, and literally the ground was absolutely jam-packed, and you couldn't have got any more people in it. And it was brilliant. So, we've got to aim for something like that, I think.
There were incredible occasions up in Cumbria at both Scotland games. Obviously, Scotland beat Tonga, and I think did the draw with Italy, but Italy had James Tedesco playing fullback as a young kid in that day. Yeah,
Those
you look back on
days.
some of the teams now, you realise what you saw really.
I mean, that tournament, it was a shame the final were a bit one-sided and bland, wasn't it? But the rest of the tournament was superb.
At the same time, the Aussies were a joy to watch that night, weren't they? Was it the Morris twins were an absolute riot?
Yeah, they destroyed them, didn't they? I mean, New Zealand had no chance, which was a shame. But also as well, I tell you what, it could be quite good is the Women's World Cup being run at the same time as well, because I think the opening day, although I'm not sure about the schedule, I thought it was a bit weird. I think they're having the opening game at Headingley on 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, which is a bit like, really? It could be a bit strange that, but the Women's World Cup.
I tell you what was amazing. Who knew Brazil played rugby?
I know. That could be amazing, I know. We should go watch them, to be fair. We should also get behind the Brazilian women. I mean, it could be an interesting one, that.
I thought it was a really good touch as well. Obviously, having the women's final before the men's one, but also giving the England women a chance to play at Anfield before the quarter-final as well was quite good, I thought.
Yeah, it's a good tactic, that, isn't it? Because almost, they're going to get good crowds and they'll almost cheer them on. But also as well, I don't know, have you seen they're all getting paid the same? The England women's and men's team, which I think is a brilliant gesture. They should do anyway, let's be honest. But I think...
I mean, looking at it as well, I just think, like, just the schedule of, how all three sort of mesh really well together, the women's, the men's and the wheelchair tournament, how you've just got literally endless rugby league over, 2 or 3 weeks or so. I can't wait for it.
I think,
the men's tournament as well, every minute of every game on the BBC.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? I think they've done really well, actually, to be fair, because, I mean, the last one was on Premier Sport, wasn't it, which was quite good, actually, how they did it, because they had Bossy commentating on near enough every game. So I think this should be quite good, actually. I think we should have...
Have they announced what's happening with the women's and the wheelchairs, then? Have they said what's happening with them?
Yeah, the full schedule.
Yeah, the full schedule's the same.
Everything.
Yeah.
The wheelchairs at the copper box, I think, pretty much every game.
I mean, that could get good crowds and stuff in there, to be fair. That'll do well. And the women's ones, I think, have been played like Headingley, York, I can't remember where else, actually. I think there's a few.
Oh, no, I mean for TV coverage, sorry.
Oh, yeah, everything, I think. Oh, yeah, everything's on BBC, so should be easy. Should be nice and easy for everyone to watch.
I could see me spending a fortune on tickets. Might wait till maybe this time next year and get them all in Groupon. But I will be buying a load.
I think
it did make me laugh when they said there'll be a priority sale and then at the back end of this year there'll be a ticket ballot. Who were they kidding? Let's be honest. I mean, they will eventually sell some of the stadiums out, but you don't need a ticket ballot, do we? Let's be honest.
I mean, isn't there a game at Coventry, if I remember right, as well?
Scotland and Australia on a Friday night at Coventry, yeah. To be honest, I've just about fought out from last time I watched both of them teams play there, so I won't be venturing down there.
I mean, I think it's a brave call taking that game of Coventry, but I mean, they did get a good crowd down there, didn't they, for that double-header game, didn't they? Was it Four Nations?
It was all right, yeah. It wasn't bad, but genuinely never been as cold in my life.
It looks quite an open stadium, that place, doesn't it? I mean, let's be honest. So
it's a cracking ground. It's a shame what happened to Coventry's football club. It's a lovely ground.
I mean, let's be honest. Out of all the stadiums, I don't think there's any that you could obviously think, oh no, that's not a good one. I don't think personally. I think having been to
because Cumbria lost its games, wasn't it?
Did they all get moved to Newcastle? Is that?
Basically, what happened was, obviously, last time when Scotland drew with the Kiwis, they kicked off saying, "I'm not playing there again with a dump," which they've got a point. But
just for the record, Jordan does live in Cumbria, so he can say that.
So there was going to be like a brand new stadium built, like a 10,000 seater or something on empty ground in Workington. So they put all the infrastructure in place. They built a new travel lodge next to it, everything, and then Tory Council pulled the plug and they're not building it anymore. So they moved them all to Kingston Park.
It's their loss, isn't it? Unfortunately, which it would have brought them a lot of money, I suppose. But silly people. Right, gentlemen. So we have now reached that point, the alphabet. Now I kind of got the alphabet wrong, I think, didn't I, Chris? So what letters is it this week?
K and L.
So K and L. What have we come up?
Do you know what it is, Loz? You've been on bloody furlough that long. You don't know what day of week it is. You need to get back to work.
It's too true, mate. Too true. Yeah.
Too much spare time on your hands, mate.
Honestly.
So what have we come up with for the letter K?
Kevin Sinfield.
The legend.
Can't say anything else on the Loiners podcast, can you?
What is your favourite Kevin Sinfield moment?
Right, there's loads, isn't there? Obviously, the semi-final in 2003 when he kicked that goal off the touchline. But I had to pick one game to perfectly epitomise what he was and what he done for our team. It was the 2015 semi-final against St Helens, where we were dead and buried. We were pretty woeful for 60 minutes of the game. And then he just dragged us back into it by the scruff of the neck. He kicked that 40-20.
Yeah.
And we scored from that and got back in the game. And then, from there, he completely ran the show. And nobody else could have got us back into the game that night.
Yeah, right. I'm going to ask you a very good question. Would you think it was his skills or his leadership that made him so good?
His leadership, really. The things he did, he was selfless for the team, really, wasn't he?
Unbelievable play. Chris, what was your favourite Sinfield moment?
Oh, God. Right. Has to be 2003 semi-final. Has to be that kick. Other than that, oh, God. There's too many. There's just too many. I'll stick with 2003.
Mine's a very little. Well, 2007, Millennium Magic, all hell breaks loose. Tansy scores a try, and Kevin Sinfield does a cartwheel. I mean, let's be honest, that has to be one of the funniest, most random moments I've ever seen on the rugby pitch. But Kevin Sinfield doing a cartwheel. I mean, I just remember being at the top of the stand behind the sticks going, I'm sure that's Sinfield doing a cartwheel. There's like beer flying everywhere. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's too many, isn't there? I can't. There is literally.
Yeah, this is it. We had this the other week where we were talking about favourite grand final moments, and it's like, how would you have to choose? It's impossible.
Too many. So what have you picked for your letter, Chris?
Mine's a bit of a random one and slightly topical. So I was thinking Kevin Sinfield, but I thought obviously it's a Leeds podcast and it's a little bit too obvious. So just as a jokey one, I'd go with Keighley Cougars, as they've got a new celebrity fan in the old Tiger King Carol Baskin.
Keighley.
Honest to God, that video, I watched it and just thought, this is so random. And how does she say it again?
Keighley.
Keighley Cougars.
Kylie Cougars.
It was, I mean, as if 2020 is not bizarre enough as it is, and getting the Tiger Queen and getting her to do that was quite surreal.
But that one video of Carol Baskin has got more publicity than when Katie Price didn't turn up to eat Sunday dinners.
It's a fair point, isn't
Oh,
it?
God, yeah, because she was meant to go to Keighley, wasn't she, Katie Price?
She was supposed to be doing a Pride Festival, wasn't she, last year? And she bailed about 2 days beforehand or something.
You
But
could
yeah,
pay you could pay £100 to have meat and 2 veg with Katie Price. There's a joke there somewhere.
yeah, it's a friendly show, George. Yeah, we'll keep that for another time. Do you know what? I've never been at their ground either. I've never been at Cougar Park.
I think I have actually.
No, I am. I've been.
You go past it on that dual carriageway, but I've never been.
Let's go next season.
Yeah, we'll have a team out
You
to
just pick a random game.
Just go.
Loiners V1 tour.
Yeah,
there we go.
I know.
We go, Keighley. Although, let's be honest, they have got a bit of Leeds history, haven't they? Because let's be honest, they gave us Darren Fleary, Darryl Powell, back in about 96, wasn't it? They gave us a lot of players, didn't they? Or we bought them, I should say. So, yeah, Keighley kind of helped in our history books, I think, in the Leeds history books. So, yeah, a very old club, to be fair, Keighley. So I shall say. Right, I'm kind of going to cheat.
He's also a very good wrestler as well.
What?
He's also a very good wrestler as well, Keighley.
Oh, Keighley.
That's a wrestling joke, folks.
A lot of people don't get that.
Yeah.
But also, lots with the Leeds reference as well. I think Scoy was working at Keighley recently.
Yeah, I don't think that ended so good either. I don't think it. Yeah,
he had some issues.
Yeah,
no.
I think for legal constraints, probably best. Yeah, I've kind of got a little bit cheeky on mine. He says, I know. Kingston upon Hull. Does that count? The great city of Hull. What have they given us? Exactly. What a city. What two great rugby league teams they've come up with. What's the best thing about Hull?
The derby.
Derby.
And leaving. Sorry, Karen, but leaving Hull as well.
Got a nice aquarium.
Yeah. That's it, really, isn't it?
It's still open.
I think so, yeah. I think it is actually open now. I think they've reopened it, I hope. If anybody's from Hull and doesn't know, just let us know.
I like how they say 9-5 as well.
That's the accent from Hull's lovely. Yeah, it's a great accent.
It's a brilliant accent.
It's quality, to be fair. You can never mistake something, from Hull, can you? If you ever hear anybody, he says. Right, so what is the next letter, Chris?
Do you not know your alphabet?
Well, I do, but you're kind of introducing me to this.
It's L.
L, of course. What have we got for this one?
Well, we're on a Leeds podcast, so I'm going to have to say Leeds.
Leeds. Oh, that great city.
No,
Leeds.
I see what you did there, Chris. Honestly, how did you come up with this stuff?
I mean, this is award winning. If this doesn't win us like Rugby League Podcast of the Year, if there is one, then what are we doing wrong?
You can't have a Leeds podcast without saying Leeds, though, can you?
Okay. So, I don't even know how to. What would you say is the best thing about Leeds rugby? I don't even know where I'm kind of asking that to you, Chris. But why have you picked Leeds?
Because I'm biased, that's why. I'm not going to lie. Because we are the best. Because we're the best team in the land, best supporters, best stadium.
That's going to get some comments. But fair play. Yeah, it's true.
Just my opinion.
George, what's your what's been? I'm going to slightly turn this around. What's been the worst moment you've had since supporting Leeds? Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, it's a big one. Let me have a think. Caught me on the hop there.
Actually, yeah, I'm going to give you that to you as well, Chris. The worst moment you've had supporting Leeds.
That absolute mauling we got a cast that night. I don't think I've ever been as raging after a game.
Was that the snowy one, or was it the?
Oh no, not the one where I got stuck on the way home. No, no, the one in March, the season we won the grand final.
Oh right.
I remember being just absolutely furious after the game, and Brian McDermott going, "We're not far off, no."
Oh yes, I know you're about now. Yeah.
What hallucinogenics are you on, Brian? He had the last laugh in the end, didn't he? To be fair,
exactly. Yeah, we beat them there.
That was up there. There's a few others over the years that spring to mind as well. I remember being furious after the semi-final against Huddersfield in 2006.
Oh God, yeah. Also,
Oh, jeez.
and I mean, that was such an inept performance, wasn't it? It was like literally one of the worst displays I've ever seen on a rugby pitch by anyone. We were just terrible that day.
Oh,
Remember,
actually, I think it was probably when my mum smacked me at Wembley in front of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So, for the listeners, I must tell the story. It was the year we got hammered by Warrington, and Chris Hicks had just completed his hat-trick. And we were on the front row of the top tier, and I had a pint in my hand, and I genuinely never meant to do it till this day. I'll admit that I never. So I've just, like, in anger, like, threw my arm forward, and the pint went flying over the bloody thing and soaked everybody down below. So, like, my mum and dad were sitting with all the lads and that. And at that point, when I threw the pint, my mum's turned around and smacked us like that. Bang! I went, oh, fuck yeah. She went, you pissed, don't have any more beer. And I've all my mates are going, woo! I'm like, oh, bloody hole to swallow me up.
Was that
pretty bad.
the same year where we got trounced as well, and me and you were going to go to Leeds Festival that year?
Yeah, sold our Leeds Fest tickets for it, didn't we?
Yeah, so that, I'll kind of...
that was the miserable day. I got stung by a wasp on the way down. Lawrie was sick on me. What else have we got?
Yeah, so I mean in terms of Challenge Cup finals, that were a massive disappointment, because I remember, like, me and you had the Leeds Festival tickets booked all the way up until the semi-finals. At the final, me and you says, right, okay, we'll clog us tickets, we'll go see Leeds beat Warrington at Wembley. Absolutely trounced, and we just walked out of that game just absolutely wounded. I remember we were back on bus, like you say, you'd had sick all over you. I was sat next to you in just your pants. And you were drunk on the way home, and then you were convinced you were going to walk into services in your boxes going into Burger King, so I had to walk in get some food for you.
I couldn't even go and order my own chili cheese bites because of him being bloody sick on him. There was loads of us had a miserable day that day though as well. Like, Lawrie got accused of shoplifting. Jonesy got done for having a was round the back of the bus. It was just an utterly miserable day, wasn't it?
Allegedly.
All this is allegedly.
Another disappointment. Loz, do you remember, I think we 2002 playing Saints at JJB at Wigan? And we got trounced at half time.
I didn't go to that because I was working that day. And I just remember, like, literally sprinting to my phone to check the score and literally looking and going, oh, yeah. And yeah, it was one of those, I think I was, like, recording it, VHS at home. And literally, I just remember getting there.
I can't remember the exact full-time score now, but I remember at half-time we were getting absolutely trounced. We were losing by a good, maybe 20, 30 points. And it was just that disappointment after 20-odd minutes where you're like, yeah, we're not making this final. We've not even turned up. But Saints were just that good that day. But it was just that feeling if you get up early in the morning, you set off, you think, right, okay, we're 80 minutes away from making a final, and after like 15, 20 minutes, you're like, we're done.
I mean, also as well, in the same context, like, do you always remember, like, when it came to going to Knowsley Road, there was that point, there used to be a few years where no matter what time you went to Knowsley Road, you'd always get hammered by Saints. Always. It was just one of those things where it almost became like, we're going to go, we'll have a laugh, but we're going to get absolutely hammered, by Saints. And quite often than not, it always did. And there was that time where, who it now? Kicked the conversion.
Paul Anderson,
yeah. Anderson kicked that conversion that, like, and they were just like, yeah, just swallows up. That's it. We're getting the prop forward kicking a conversion at last minute.
That would proper rub me in. For some reason, I couldn't make that game. And I remember watching it on Sky. And whatever the score was, they must have been beating us by quite a bit. And the fact that they've got Paul Anderson lined up on the side to take the kick, and the fact that he slotted it over as well, you just like, no.
Egg.
No.
Remember that year we got hammered at Langtree Park as well? And all the Sky commentators were, like, convinced we got beat because they dyed their hair for comic relief. I'm sure that's the reason. Didn't sure about it, did they? I think all this red hair's taking the concentration away from the performance. No.
Yeah, that's Sky though. Let's be honest, that's Sky. Let's go away with that. What's your letter L this week, Joe?
Lee Smith.
Lee Smith.
Going to throw it back to the year he got the Harry Sunderland Trophy in the grand final and turned up the next day at the homecoming.
It was a bit tired and emotional, wanted that day.
What a man! I don't think he went
tired and emotional.
5 days, did he?
What a player, though. I mean, I don't. Well, when you look back, he was absolutely brilliant, wasn't he? But it was that moment where he'd let him go to Wasps, wasn't it? And you kind of think, why didn't we try keep him? He was absolutely brilliant, that season before he went to Wasps, I think.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. His performance in the grand final as well was like top class, wasn't he? Bearing in mind, he ended up playing fullback on about 24 hours' notice, didn't he? Because Brent Webb dropped out.
Yeah, didn't he hurt his neck? Was it? He hurt?
Yeah, didn't he hurt his back or something?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah, it was back on it.
And everyone just went, "Oh God, here we go. We're going to have to play Lee Smith." And Lee Smith was superb.
It was brilliant. And then there was the legendary party afterwards where he a little bit tired and emotional, Barry said, didn't he, at the homecoming the next day, because he hadn't been to bed. I think that was pretty evident. And he
don't think any of them
little bit worse for wear, dropping F-bombs during the interviews on the stage at the Family Fun Day, but
it's acceptable. Yeah,
yeah,
it's fine. A few swear words, not a problem. Do you remember when he came back, didn't he, for a little bit, if I remember correct? So it was all right, but he wasn't the same, was he, if I remember? Did he come back for like a year?
Yeah, he did, because I remember everyone was buzzing when he come back, and then he scored within like 3 minutes or something, didn't he, on his comeback against Bradford, I want to say. He's like straight away he scored.
He was a good player, and I remember he was not the tallest lad ever either, wasn't he? He was quite a small geezer, God. And he brilliant talent, but he just, I think going to Union kind of, not destroyed him, but he kind of changed him for the worse, I think. But great player nonetheless. I've kind of gone down.
I'll throw another element for you. Leslie Vanacola. Does anyone remember that time Rob Burrow was choking in his top play when he
flattened him? When it absolutely creamed him.
There's Leslie. We met Leslie out in New Zealand, didn't we, Chris?
Oh,
yeah, we did.
Yeah, he's I believe, is he an RE teacher now or something, Chris?
I'm sure he said when we're speaking to him, he's teaching kids in Auckland, didn't he?
I'm pretty certain. I could be right. I'm pretty certain he's actually out in Auckland as either an RE or a PE teacher. But put it this way, I'd do my homework in his class.
Is he still the size of a tank?
You won't mess with it.
Oh, he's massive. Absolutely. Chris put a picture of us on social media with him when we were having a drink with him in his bar. He's still massive. But honestly, God, he was like a really, really nice bloke. Obviously, we were saying, we used to hate you when you played against Leeds. He was like, sorry, guys. Like, he was a top bloke, wasn't he, Chris?
I was
the size of him, right? If you look at the games and you look at the size of him, you just think, how did you run that quick? I mean, he was rapid considering the size of him. I mean, it defied logic, didn't it? Let's be honest, for a guy who's, how much do you reckon he weighed? I mean, he'd got to be
18, 20 stone.
And
do you know what? I'll forever be sad that we didn't get to see Conrad play centre on the same side of the field as Vanacola as a winger. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine that team? I mean, you'd have to. It would just be like the opposition would just be scared to put anybody out there, wouldn't they? It'd be like reinforcements lined up, everything. Honest to God.
Do you remember there was always that rumour that Vanacola was coming to Leeds? When there was all that stuff with Yestin Harris, and it could be all right. So as compensation, we'll get we'll get Vanacola, someone else. There was always that thing of, is he going to come to Leeds? I'd have loved to have seen him play in a Leeds shirt.
Think back to him in the 2004 grand final. Tony Smith's tactics that night for us were just unreal, weren't they? Like, because it was at the time when nobody would kick the ball near him because he would just, bring it back and, he'd take it the length of the field quite often. Whereas, like, Tony Smith's game plan that night was just kick it behind him, keep turning him. He was knackered. He offered nothing going forward after about 50 minutes because he was absolutely spent because all he'd done is keep running the ball back.
Because he scored that try, didn't he, in the first half where he'd taken it and bulldozed his way over, and then he didn't seem to do a lot, did he, for the rest of the game? But then again, that was Smith's tactics, wasn't it? It worked in trade.
Was it Calderwood who kept targeting him in final?
Pretty much every time he picked the ball up, Calderwood was there to.
I'm sure it was Calderwood. Yeah.
Which, given Mark Calderwood and his tackling abilities, which weren't the best in the world, was actually a bit of a fair play to him, wasn't it? Because he wasn't the greatest tackler in the world, Calderwood.
Okay. Your lasting memory of Mark Calderwood has got to be them rugby gloves he used to play in, surely.
Or the fact he
Remember
always
that?
used to, or the fact he runs sideways instead of
Yeah,
going forward.
we used to call him the crab, didn't we? Because he'd never run forward; he'd always run sideways.
He'd always like take the ball into the centre area, and you're thinking, Matt, just run forward, mate. You're gonna be all right, you know.
He had a couple of belting seasons, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think he still playing? He was still playing until not too recently. I don't think. Yeah,
He was playing for Workington.
well, I'm sure he played down here for somebody. I'll have to ask. I'm sure he'll play for like not one at Wortley clubs or something. I'm sure he'll play down here or playing Union or something. So he's still probably out there. You never know playing, but he were another class winger. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm going to throw mine in now. Who also was another Leeds winger with a letter L, Leroy Rivette. I mean, gentlemen, those 4 tries at Wembley, how brilliant were they that day?
I watched it again recently on the YouTube channel when that was brilliant during lockdown, by the way, wasn't it? When they kept putting all those games on, really, really good. I enjoyed it a lot. But yes, there were quality finishes. Some of them weren't there.
Honest to God, really.
It was class. I mean, I was still kind of more into the football rather than the rugby around about that time. But it was that game, and those performances that it sort of convinced me to go to Heading with the following year. That's something that always sticks out when I was younger watching Leeds. Teen Leeds play on BBC, but to see Leeds win that Challenge Cup against London, that performance from Rivette.
It's a brilliant watch, that game. Like looking back, that try that Barry Mack scored as well was an absolute beauty where he sidestepped the fullback.
Absolutely destroyed him because he runs straight through him, didn't he? Got for about 3 or 4 players.
It did, and it was one of them games where, like, really, were we drawn at half time, I think?
Yeah, because it was a really weird game because everyone, I mean, I remember the betting and stuff. Obviously, I was too young to bet in those days, but like the odds and stuff were just ridiculously in Leeds' favour, which is understandable at the time because how good we were. But the fact that I think London were like just scoring, if we scored, I think they scored first, if I remember right, and then it was vice versa for a little while. They were like, this is getting a bit sketchy for Leeds. And then all of a sudden, we kind of turned it on towards like last 10 minutes or so. And in the second half, we just punished them. But what about that? I mean, let's be honest, that's another team we could mention about London have had a checkered history. But yeah, I mean, that day in particular, London we were a bit lucky because, I mean, they had Fire and Sean Edwards playing for them, which, I mean, I know they were coming to the end of their careers, but they really did help them, I suppose. But yeah, London, what's your abiding memories of London Broncos?
I've had some cracking days out down there over the years. I think one of my favourites was when they were Harlequins, and it was the day of England's first World Cup match, and they put like a do on in the clubhouse afterwards. It was brilliant. One of the best days out of the rugby I've had.
Which World Cup did I get? I can't remember.
Oh, the Vuvuzela one. What was that?
South Africa.
2010.
Yeah, 2010. Yeah. I still remember when they played at Brentford's ground, which unfortunately, rest in peace. What a ground that Brentford's ground, because they used to have like pubs on each corner of the ground, and you could do a little pub hopping around it. What's that, mate?
2006, I reckon. 2004.
2004, yeah. That was, and I think they put down 2003 as well, if I remember right. But
that was the Liam Botham game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The famous. Yeah, that's another L, isn't it? Liam Botham. Yeah, so we loaned Liam Botham to London. Didn't he score like a last minute conversion at level game?
Yeah, kicked it off the sideline.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I remember being stood on the terrace behind there where he kicked it, and it was just heartbreaking because it was a really tight game, and it was one of those where we should have beat them, if I remember right. It just didn't go according to plan, and all of a sudden, they scored that, and then he kicked a beautiful kick, and it was just one of those things of cheers, Liam, thanks, mate. Thanks for helping us out.
There's a blossom that passed.
I know, but how long? He didn't play that long, did he? I don't think he had.
No, a couple of seasons, maybe.
Probably. Yeah, because he went to Wigan, didn't he, after Leeds?
He did.
He played
was he
for
playing
Wigan
in the relegation? Well, didn't he play like two?
He might have done, but he had to
retire. The Wigan team that we beat 79.
Right. I'm going to have a look at Liam Botham. I won't be a sec. I'm going to have to find this out.
I'm sure
whatever you do,
short, wasn't it?
Whatever you do, if you type it into Twitter, don't type his dad's name. That's all I'm saying.
I know why as well. I'm not going to say that. Right, so Liam Botham,
Yeah, Liam
his,
Botham.
his, good grief. Yeah, his career, he was at Bradford Bulls in 2003. Then he came to us in 2003, played 16 games, 15 games and scored 16 points. 2004, he went to London Broncos for 8 games and scored 24 points. And then in 2005, he was at Wigan and played 5 games for them. And then but he had been at Union beforehand, so he'd come over to us quite late. He'd been played for West Hartlepool in 1996-7, Cardiff Rugby Union, Newcastle Falcons, and he were at Leeds Tykes. So I think we'd actually caught him at the back end of his career, to be fair. Well, yeah, there you go. There's a fact for you.
There's one. There's one for a future podcast for us. Maybe even next week. I don't know what you feel. You have to pick your obscure Leeds Rhinos Super League 13.
All right. Okay.
No criteria. They don't have to have played any number of games or anything like that. Let's see if we can come up with the most.
Or we could
Rhinos team ever.
Or we could do a Rugby League Super League obscure one. That could be even more interesting.
It could. Just thinking purely because of the Rhinos one. Some of the ones you'll be able to come up with, like, could be Tom Bush will be on the wing one, surely.
Yeah.
You know, all that sort of stuff. You got like
Peter Fox. You could have him on. You know, Peter Fox.
Joby Curry, the legend himself.
That's definitely
Simon Morrill in back row. Right, let's do that next. Obscure Rhinos 13. People can send theirs in on on Twitter to us.
And if anybody wants to do like a Rugby League obscure team as well, get them sent it to us. Send them in and we'll read them out next week. We'll do that. Yeah, that's an idea. So we'll try and squeeze that.
Oh, George, Nathan McAvoy.
What a boy! Oh boy. No, bless, we can't do that. We can't.
Hey, you could play him in a number of positions. He's a dream for stuff like this. You could slide him about, put him in centre if you wanted to.
He play second row, if I'm right.
Second row, wing.
He played everywhere, didn't he? He was like
water boy, club shop, whatever you wanted him really.
Without sounding really harsh here, don't you think Liam Sutcliffe was almost kind of taken that route as well in a weird way? Sorry to Liam Sutcliffe, I don't mean that.
Did McAvoy ever play for us? About 4 times.
Do you know what? I don't think he did actually.
I think he played about 4 times and rolled against Lee.
You need to look into that.
I know, that's another thing I'll have to look into. Yeah. But anyway. Right, gentlemen. Well, I think that's it for tonight. It's been a pleasure. So, Mr. Jordan Walker, any final words for tonight? Any tips?
No, not really. No. Just everyone keep staying alert, controlling your viruses, and remember to wear your mask at shops tomorrow.
Yeah. Make sure you wear them all times. Chris Patrick, any final words from you?
Right.
Yeah, there you go. And from me, it's goodbye. And see you next week, guys. Remember, we are also on Facebook now. So if you want all videos and random stuff, go to Facebook, like us. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. You can follow us. And YouTube, where you can subscribe. Just down there. See you later, folks. Goodbye.